That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
After minutes of technical difficulties,
well, I'll tell you what,
we're back with another episode, folks. So if you're listening to this, Pete's running the show from his house actually, because he doesn't feel good right now. So thanks for not coming over and spreading the wealth.
Yeah,
but we got a great episode lined up. I know Pete and I are super excited about this. Great guests coming on. Somebody that was recommended by a good buddy of ours, Mike Corbishley. Thanks, Mike, for recommending this guest, and we'll get into it here in a minute. Ben's not here, as you guys can see. If you're watching the show, Ben is setting up for the Raleigh Bass and Saltwater Fishing Expo that takes place January 9th through the 11th. So if you're hearing this, there's a possibility it's already over with. But if not, stop by and see us. We're going to have all our great friends there. Speaking of that, OneCast Fishing, head on over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word, at checkout, and save money on all those snagless jigs, weedless Neds, soft plastics, long neck hooks, and everything else that they have to offer. Also at the booth this year, OneCast Fishing is going to be a dealer for Hobie eyewear, which we always talk to you guys about. So use that link that we provide in all of our shows and head on over to Hobie eyewear and get your hands on all the different lenses and frames that they have to offer. Ours is Anglers' favorite frames are the floating frame series. Get your hands on those Sightmaster Pluses because they're going to be clutch when it comes to sight fishing and low light conditions. Also, while you're online, check our partners out at CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word, at checkout. Get that UPF gear and get stocked up to save your skin from the dog days of summer. And then on your Play Store or App Store before your next fishing trip, download the Deep Dive app. Great partners of ours, going on the second year. We've been using them for years, actually, but using their app. But download that application and help yourself break down bodies of water, different tournament winning patterns, wind direction, outflows, inflows, lake levels, and all the conditions that you need to know how to target largemouth, spotted, and smallmouth bass. And then finally, after fishing Central North Carolina so much, or watching all the fish pics that we put on our socials, it's going to make you want to move to Central North Carolina. If you're going to do that, you're going to need a piece of property and a house to go with it. You can hit our good friend of the show, who we refer to as Uncle Terry, up at carpenterT@hpw.com. He is a licensed real estate agent with Howard Perry, Walston, and Caldwell Banker. And he's going to be the guy that gets you squared away to get that bass boat in the garage. He got Pete in his house, Pete and Chelsea in their house. And, Pete's beautiful Blue Buffalo Vexus is sitting in that garage right now. Actually, it's sitting outside,
in the driveway,
I believe.
Yeah.
It's in the driveway right now because, we like to fish 364 days a year. We take Christmas off sometimes. So, So any updates right now in the fishing world, Pete?
No, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot going on. It's the time of year, though, when new technology, new products start getting announced. So Lowrance announced yesterday this will be about a week after they announced it, but yesterday for us, the Active Target 2 XL. So some changes coming to their Active Target 2 transducer. So if you want to upgrade to that, you don't need a new black box or anything. If you have Active Target 2, your box and everything will stay the same. I suspect that's just the first one to drop. I'm sure everybody has new and exciting stuff coming that we'll be seeing here over the next couple months leading up to the Classic, and then you get a little bit of a lull. And then I'm hoping ICAST gets back to its roots and we see some innovation, new product this year at ICAST. So
maybe we'll see a new hula popper.
Yeah, maybe. I'd be all right with that.
Make hula poppers great again, baby.
I do like to eat that popper, so maybe a hula popper is the way to go. But no, if you're listening to this, hopefully we got to see you at Raleigh. I haven't decided if we're going to drop the show tomorrow, which is the day before Raleigh starts, or next week after. So we'll see how the show goes, and then how it sounds after, and I'll make a determination which one gets to go first. So if you didn't see us, you missed out.
Here's how you determine that. Do exactly what Bass did and flip a coin, Pete.
We're just flip a coin.
Flip
just
a
like
coin,
they
baby.
do for forward facing, no forward facing.
That's right.
We go live.
Yeah. Speaking of forward-facing sonar, I took the forward-facing sonar transducer off my boat today. Bassmaster Opens rules 2 with, 2 without, and then the EQs are 1 with, 2 without, or 2 with, 1 without, however they determine that, coin flip or not. So pretty excited about going back to the roots of fishing, which actually is a great narrative for the show that we're going to talk about tonight, and the guests we're going to have on. So we're going to have Dustin Smith. He's going to be coming on here in just a second. And if you don't know Dustin Smith, you need to go to all of his socials and check him out. He's going to shout those out at the end of the show. But without further ado, let's bring Dustin on and talk about his journey to the 2026 Bass Pro Tour.
Dustin.
Hey, guys.
What's up, man?
You guys are getting me excited talking about hula poppers.
Right? Get fired up, dude. We got to make hula poppers and jitterbugs great again. And I'll tell you what, it's a bait that I think a lot of us in this room grew up throwing, especially being from the North, man. Like Pete's from Pennsylvania. You're from Wisconsin. I'm from Michigan. I'll tell you what, those bass up north, I believe they're just a little bit dumber. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they're going to eat a hula popper if you throw it at them in a jitterbug. And in fact, I got a bass sitting here. You guys can't see it right now, but it was the last bass that I caught with my dad, our very last bass fishing trip for an extended period of time. A lot of people don't know my family life, but there was a long break between my dad and then reconnecting with my dad. And I got a bass in here that's about 4. He's probably probably close to 4 pounds. And I caught it very last cast on an all black jitterbug on like 10-pound Stren mono on a spinning rod. And that's the way we grew up, man. Stren and spinning rods in the North. You know what I mean?
For sure, dude. Yep. We used to do that at night, jitterbugging and hula poppering. And we would wade out in the night and we'd be throwing this thing, bloop, bloop. And he would just be like, whoosh, when we get it. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, that old jitterbug at night, you that nice, you get that perfect retrieve, and it'd be out there, bloop, 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 and then and, oh man,
dude,
I'm gonna throw one around this year. Right?
I got a couple of them. I think I'm gonna take. I think I'm gonna take them on the road with me this year. You definitely got to switch the hooks out on them. We never did back in the day when I was a kid. But you put some good. Whatever your choice of hook is on there, I think you're gonna catch them, man. Old school is starting to come back. That what. Old school is coming back, and we're here to talk to Dustin about that. So Dustin Smith, man, really appreciate you jumping on here this evening with us. We know you're on Central Time, so a little bit earlier than us, but appreciate you jumping on and really want to get into just a quick overview of who you are, where you come from, and how you got into the fishing game before we jump into the which is now known as the pro circuit and then the BPT.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about it. So I'm from Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin, and I stayed there till I was graduating college. I was 22 or so, and then I was out and about, moving around, pursuing my career in what I do for work. And it was and fishing was kind of intertwined in all of that. And my dad is really the reason why I got into fishing in general. And it's and you guys know, up north, it's man, we fish for everything. One day we could be out on Lake Michigan, we were trolling for salmon. The next day we're fly fishing for bluegills on their beds. And it's we could just fish for everything when I was a kid. And it was bass fishing started to catch momentum with me when I was 12 or 13. And it was all my buddies were signing up for football and soccer and all this fun stuff like that. It's man, I don't want anything to do with any of that. I want to fish, and that's all I want to do. So then it kind of snowballed from there.
What part of, if you don't mind, what part of Wisconsin did you grow up in?
Yeah, kind of the southeastern portion of Wisconsin. So a little bit outside of Milwaukee. We were kind of in the kind of transition from suburbs to country. But when I was in high school, we moved onto a lake, and it was that got dangerous because it's now all I want to do is fish. And they had weeknight tournaments out there and weekend tournaments, and it's we put a pretty good whooping on them out there because that's the only place we fished.
Did you have I'm assuming you had one of those traditional natural lakes that had a ton of vegetation and stuff in it?
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. But the cool thing about it too is there was a couple, I would call them creeks now, then we call them bays, but it's you could go up the bays and there was some incoming water and you could go way up these areas and stuff. And it's that's kind of where it like started as far as like shallow power bass fishing. It's like, man, you can get in these areas and catch fish, and like no one's going in this stuff.
Right. Right. I mean, do you remember, you said about 12 years old, that's when you really started getting into bass fishing. Do you remember your very first bass?
I do, for sure.
Do you?
Yep, absolutely.
Talk about that.
Yeah, it was actually on a pond, and it was on this massive Bass Pro Shops lizard. I mean, it was probably like a 10-inch lizard with like a tiny little hook that I had on it, and I was just pulling it across the surface, like not knowing any idea what I was doing. And one just exploded on it, and somehow I hooked it on this tiny little hook, and I got it in. And this is, you got to remind, this is like years and years ago. Obviously, we didn't have like a phone. We had a camera that had like a roll on it, like a disposable camera. So we snapped a picture of this fish, and it was like, I didn't get the picture for like another month. And it was like, the picture was like, you just like the sky. It was like, there wasn't even, it wasn't even right. Yeah, but I remember my first bass for sure. And I remember my first flipping fish, and that was like a big deal for me. And it was out of an In Fisherman magazine, and they were talking about like scissor flipping, like old school. And they're like flipping into these reeds. And like, I hadn't really fished for bass that much at that point. I was just a kid, and like we fished for a lot of walleyes and stuff. And like, I didn't even know fish lived in that stuff. So then I started doing it, and I flipped in there, and like all the reeds shook, and it was like, thunk. And I'm like, oh, and it was on a spinning rod. So I'm like finagling this thing. Yeah. It's funny how you remember that stuff. I mean, it was probably 30 years ago, and it's like, I forget when I'm going to the grocery store now. What I'm going to get.
I think it's fun to think about the stuff when you were a kid, and then it's also funny to look at like 2026 and all the technology we have and all the hundreds of thousands of dollars, I would say, or whatever of tackle. And then you catch a fish on a lizard with probably a micro hook, just not knowing what you're doing. And we overcomplicate so much stuff. Have you ever done that just on what we'll talk about it later, but have you ever taken any of like the really old childhood techniques and then just tried to replicate it and do it again?
Dude, I'll tell you what. So do you remember those worms we used to throw where it would like, it had 3 hooks in it?
3 hooks.
And it would come like in a pack, and you'd reel it, and it would spiral.
Worms,
and it would like just tear up your line. Before I moved here to Alabama, I lived in Florida. I'm like, man, I think I can throw this bait down here in Florida and catch them. And I'll tell you what, that bait catches fish. But the problem is the hooks are so bad. It just blows out the whole worm. The hooks tear out and stuff. And it's like, dude, if someone came out with that worm, it probably wouldn't sell. Maybe people would never buy, but like I would, because it works with good hooks and stuff. Man, you could catch them on it.
The new improved cream worm XL, just like Pete was talking about with Active Target, like put some mustad or some trocar hooks in that bad boy. Yeah. What was that? There was a really funny worm years ago that came out that would like coil on itself when you pulled on it. What was that one called, Pete? Do you remember?
It was the bungee worm.
Yeah,
was it the bungee worm? There was I remember seeing that worm promoted at like iCast or something, and they would dip it in there, and every time you'd pull tension, it'd come back on itself, and people were like, yeah, that's gonna snag every single time, dude. But yeah, I mean, childhood, man. Were you guys like us? Did you eat a lot of fish, knock the sides off everything that you caught?
For sure. Yeah. Because we fished in like creeks a lot and stuff, or like trout, fly fishing, and little spinners and stuff. And it's like, man, those things are hitting the grease every time.
Yeah. Was there any point in time in your childhood before moving on to college where you really became like infatuated with like maybe Bassmaster, or because I'm assuming this is the 80s, 90s that you're growing up?
90s, mid 90s.
90s. Yeah. So were you in that Bassmaster, maybe FLW at a time?
For sure. Yeah. And it was like a really cool time of bass fishing. It's like, I feel like it's maybe one of the reasons why it really caught my attention is like these guys making these like super long runs, and they have like gas tanks on the bank and like strapped inside their boat and stuff. I'm like, man, this is super cool. I like this. And it was kind of like during that time frame, like Bob Cobb. And it was like, I think it was on TNN at one point, and I would wake up early morning on Saturdays and watch it. And it was like, man, that was cool stuff. Because at that point, we didn't really have like, I didn't have a boat. We just pond fish. So I had like my bike, and I had a bike rack that I built on it. and I would just go around all kinds of ponds, like some that were like public, but others were like in neighborhoods and stuff. We're like, we're just trespassing and we're just going in these ponds.
Hey, every body of water is fishable. I don't care what any of those signs say, but I totally hear you, man. Like we used to sneak onto people's properties all the time, and I feel like back then compared to now, like just like you were talking about, like extra gas cans strapped to the boat, people making long runs, sneaking into ponds, like we're way more risk adverse in 2026 than we were back in the 90s, right? Like people are like, no, back in the day, like be like, oh yeah, man, go fish the pond, no problem. Now it's like, no, if you fall in, there's going to be a liability lawsuit, look filed. I can't have that. And it's like, dang, man, like you don't want kids to be outside anymore. So on Saturday mornings when Dustin's friends are playing football or baseball, he's sitting there watching TNN saying, yep, I'm going to be the next Roland Martin. You know what I mean? So after school, did you, or after high school, you said you went to college?
Yeah. And like, that's really when fishing really started gaining traction for me, like as far as tournaments and stuff. We joined a bass club, the Wisconsin Bass Federation. It was like qualified for like the zone tournament, the state team. And then it was like, man, I want to fish some BFLs. And I hopped in a year of BFLs when I was like 17. And that might as well have been like the Bassmaster Classic. It was like, man, these are like top tier anglers. And there are really a lot of good anglers in BFLs. And it was like, man, my first event, I took like, I think 11th or something. I'm like, holy cow. I couldn't even believe that I could fish against these guys. And then it was like, fish the second one did good and third one did good. And I was leading angler of the year. I'm like, holy cow, this is insane. And then I blew my engine and I fished the rest of the year in my trolling motor because we couldn't get it fixed.
Wow. But
it was like, that's when fishing like really started to interest me as far as tournaments. Because before that, like we just fished for fun. And then was tournaments was like really starting to pick up. And then I went to college and it was like, you didn't really have like the money to fish tournaments and stuff. So I just fished a lot. But then after that, then I graduated and I moved to Kentucky and I lived on the Ohio River. And it was like my first purchase out of college was like, I'm getting a bass boat. And I bought a Blazer and I applied for the loan and they're like, yeah, you don't have any money. There's no way you're getting a boat. And that was one of the things that was like super cool. As far as my mom and dad were super supportive of me, not only from like a time perspective, but also like I wanted to buy this, I think it was a $16,000 bass boat. But like to me, that was like, it was really a lot of money. And my parents were like, well, we can take that money, you can put it at your student loans, or you can buy a boat. And it's like, I had a boat the next day.
You made the smart choice, the logical choice.
Don't pay off your student loans. Buy a boat. Great idea.
Yeah.
So a word for the kids is go to college, but still buy a bass boat.
Like the worst idea. But then I just fished a lot, like on the Ohio River is where I lived then, and fished like local tournaments, weeknight tournaments, because like I just didn't have a lot of money to fish like a Toyota Series or something like that. Nor did I have time from a work standpoint because it was kind of like a corporate position. And then I moved to Atlanta. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, what did you go to for everyone listening? Like, what was your at this point? What was there any thought of like fishing professionally in your head?
So I kind of looked at a little bit, but I didn't want to take the traditional route to fishing. Is like I feel like the very traditional route is to like try to acquire sponsors, and they're going to fund your fishing career, your addiction that we all have. And it's like that is a very popular method, and it works really good for a lot of people. And it's like that didn't really fit like what I wanted to do. So I wanted to. Our whole families were all entrepreneurs. My mom, my dad, my brother. That's just kind of the approach that we take to our life. So it's like I wanted to start a business, and I wanted that to fund what I'm doing from a fishing perspective. And it's like after 13 years now of owning this business, it's like now I've able to really step on the gas and fish a lot of tournaments. So then I the last 3 years I fished the NPFLs. And then this last year, 2025, I fished the Invitationals, which has led me here to the Bass Pro Tour for 2026.
Pete and I, we get this a lot. We hear this a lot out of the. This is messaging for the audience, right? But a lot of people are trying to make a living out of this addiction. And, you know, like you said, it's a popular way for people to fund their addiction of tournament competitive fishing in general. Like it's not exclusive to bass fishing. You know, there's a lot of tournament series out there for all different species and stuff like that. But, you know, when a lot of these kids come to these fishing shows and these expos and stuff like that, and they, you know, they're surrounded by what people consider the dream, right? But, you know, as well as we do, that this dream nightmares are dreams too, and it can turn into a nightmare. So your approach to not taking the traditional route and building a bit, which I think is getting a little bit more common now than what it used to be. Do you feel college was necessary for that to happen?
I think it depends on what the business is. So
Okay.
for mine, it's a very specific niche within engineering. And it's like, it kind of needed to really have that knowledge learned in that field. But like, there's other ways that you could do it, other businesses as well. Because it is, you know, it's like when you look at tournament bass fishing, is like, you need to have kind of two things. And it's like, you need to have some freedom as far as time, but then you also need to have financial freedom as well. And it's like, that's difficult to do if you're going to be working at a corporate office of like a big company. It's like, you really kind of need to own a business, or go the sponsor route, and you're going all in on sponsors and being a professional bass fisherman. It's like, for me, that was just too much risk, like with family, with kids and things like that. But people do it. I mean, people do it successfully.
Yeah. So I guess for the young guys out here, or even guys like myself, right? Like, hey, if you have the financial freedom to do it, that's probably going to be your best route. You know, for me, I'm retired, so I got a retirement pension and other funding sources coming in. So it allows me maximum amount of flexibility to actually go fish tournaments. For you own a business. Our friends like Buck Mallory, he owns actually a lot of the people that we know, they own a business. And I think it's important for the audience to hear, like, hey man, like, you can try the sponsor route, but you should have like multiple plans put into place if you truly want to do this and be consistent, because there's a difference at staying on tour because you're consistently in the points versus you're staying on tour because you can consistently fund it. And I see a lot of guys for 2-3 years, they might have the sponsor support, but then that drops and then they're done. They don't have another plan. Right. And you see guys in the industry like John Cruz, highly successful missile bait company, does really well in the Elite Series. But if the Elite Series went away tomorrow, John Cruz is fine. If the BPT goes away tomorrow, you're fine. And that's, I think, important for a lot of the anglers to understand or want to fish professionally. It's like, dude, if it falls, you got to have a plan on how you're going to survive. So it's important for the audience to hear that.
Yeah, I think it's really good for kids to hear that too, that are in like the 18, 20, 22 range. It's like, there's a couple ways to do this. There's just not one way to do it.
Right. Yep. Or you could just hit the lottery and be good forever. You know what I mean? So
that's an option too.
So you came out of college, you got a corporate job, you said, and that took you down to Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And then you got you ended up getting your blazer and stuff like that. Did you fish a lot of tournaments in the Ohio River, you said?
A little bit. Yeah. I do like smaller tournaments, local tournaments, weeknight ones on weekends. And it was like, man, the Ohio River is a tough place to fish as far as like size and also volume of fish. But like, it's fun fishing out there because it's like, really, you're just crankbaiting, shallow crankbaiting, you're flipping, you're throwing buzz baits, and you're spinner baiting. It's like, if you have those 4 baits on the Ohio River, like, you've captured 80% of the areas or techniques that you need on the river. And it's like, and you can go way up creeks. And it's like, I kind of like all that stuff. It's just small fish.
Yep. What year are we in right now in Kentucky fishing the Ohio River?
Yeah, it's like 2010, 2011, and I'm like mid 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where's life take you after that?
Yeah, then I got my next position within the corporate world was at the Home Depot at their corporate office, and it was in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's like I went from like Wisconsin to living in the sticks of Kentucky to like I'm living downtown Atlanta, and I'm like, man, I hated it. Everything about that city, but it was a necessary step in order for me to grow my business and to kind of be where I'm at now. But it was from a living perspective, man, it was like I am not a city person. But it's what needed to happen. But it also had like good proximity. I fished on Lanier, I fished Allatoona, Chickamauga, Gunnersville. Like it was a good central location for fishing. So on the weekends and stuff, I fished a lot. I just didn't fish tournaments just because I didn't have time. Like I tried to do like a couple BFLs and stuff, and it's like you're practicing the weekend before because you work the whole week, and then you just go in blind for the tournament. It's like you can't really do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Atlanta, like I've had a number of experiences in downtown Atlanta over the last 20 years. And I can tell you without a doubt, I would never live there. Hey, nothing against Atlanta, Georgia guys, but just not my scene. I couldn't live there at all. So that takes you, so you're at the Home Depot, you're doing corporate level stuff. And then where do you go after that?
Yeah, and that's after that is when I started my business.
Okay.
So this was like 13 years ago, which is crazy that it's been 13 years essentially.
Yeah.
But Bolt Smith Packaging Consultants is the name of our business, and I'm the Smith, and my cousin, who's my business partner, he's the Bolt.
Okay.
So kind of started him and I, and now it's X number of years later, and we have a team of engineers that we work on packaging related projects.
Okay. I mean, for the audience, and I think a lot of anglers are entrepreneurs too, or they're at least trying to figure out that route, like building their individual brand and stuff like that. But how did it take years of planning to launch that business idea?
I wish I could say it was like super well thought out, but it wasn't really. There was a problem that popped up where it was like a company needed our help, and it was urgent, and I'm like, let's do it. And at that time, I didn't have a wife and kids. Like I would never take that risk level now. Like it's too much risk. But then it was just me living in a crappy apartment in Atlanta. I'm like, I have no expensive. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So I did it, and it was a couple of years of suck. Like the first big project that I had is like I was on the road for like 2 years. Is all I did was travel, going into manufacturing plants for what we do. And then it was like my next project, I had to move to Tijuana, Mexico, and it was
What?
like, yeah. I lived in Mexico, in Tijuana, and it was actually fantastic. A lot of great people, had a fantastic time, but it was like I was willing to do anything to make this work.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what it takes. And it's like, hey, you're willing to move to Mexico? It's like, yeah, where do I need to go? I'm going.
You went to a huge destination spot in Mexico. So you didn't take the boat with you, did you?
No, I did not take it to Mexico.
Oh. Because Mexico, where they fish a lake in Mexico all the time. I can't remember what it's called. And it's
Baccarat.
loaded with like,
Baccarat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Loaded with 10 pounders. So I didn't know but that was the total opposite side though, I believe. Right. So,
yeah.
Okay. So how long are you in Mexico for?
I lived there for like 3 months, but then I was going there after that, like every week. The entire week. It's like I really, for a portion of like, let's say 4 or 5 years of like starting the business, it's like I really honestly I didn't have much of a life. It's like that's all I did was growing my business. And it's like sometimes you have to sacrifice, and I did sacrifice like my mid to late 20s basically.
Yeah. Do you drink tequila?
Things get pretty wild on tequila, that's for sure.
All right, so you're in Mexico. You didn't eat the worm. You do drink tequila, maybe a little bit. And then where do you go after that?
Yeah, so we really started to like the business was no longer in survival mode. Is we were established business. We started hiring engineers, so I didn't have to do all the work, and that started to give me a lot of freedom as far as time. So at that time, it was like my business partner and I, we hired a couple guys. We needed to have a warehouse. We needed to like become a real business. And then it's like now, we have 18 packaging engineers that are running all over the world, working on all kinds of packaging projects. We have a general manager. It's like, we're a real business now, which is awesome. Because it's like the last 4 years, I've been able to take, a fair amount of time off to fish tournaments, which is absolutely necessary, to be successful. So that's like kind of when I jumped into to the NPFL, and then fishing like some Toyota series and stuff like that beforehand.
But where were you living? Like, where did you move to?
Yeah. So after Atlanta, I moved to Florida.
Okay.
So my family, my mom and dad, and my brother, they were moving to Florida. So I'm like, man, I'm in. Let's go to Florida. So I moved to the Harris chain and started fishing a lot of. tournaments on the Harris chain. And at that time, there was the American Bass Anglers, the ABAs. They had a really solid trail in Florida. They had some on the Harris chain, Kissimmee, and Okeechobee. And man, I went to Florida, and it's crazy to think because like I could fit my entire life like in the back of my truck at that point because it was just me. But it's like now with a wife and kids, like, do we need like a semi for all of our stuff that we have? But I had everything in the back of my truck, and I'm like, all my possessions, and I had my boat. I'm like, I'm gonna go Okeechobee and just fish a tournament. Never been to Florida before, and I won it on. It was an American Bass Anglers. I'm like, man, this is awesome down here in Florida. It's just flipping and stuff. So I was able to win 3 ABAs down in Florida over like a series of like 2 years or so. And it was like, it was all just flipping and throwing topwater and stuff. I'm like, man, Florida is awesome. I love Florida fishing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like if you ever come up North Carolina, you need to take a trip with Pete and I to the eastern part and fish the Roanoke and Chowan River system, man. Like it is an absolute blast, and it fits everything that you like about Florida. So
can we talk about that for a minute?
What's that?
In Edmonton, North Carolina, is that one of the towns?
Edenton?
Yeah, Edenton.
Yep.
One of my buddies that I knew a long time ago, that's where he's from, Josh Milligan.
Okay.
And he would throw like a devil's horse and stuff and just flip all the time and throw frogs. I'm like, dude, this place sounds awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, it is awesome.
No, yeah. So usually like over Father's Day weekend, Pete's dad will come down from Pennsylvania and, we'll take a trip out there and stay at the Sportsman Inn. It's a nice little hotel that's set up, or it's a motel that's set up perfectly for bass boats. And you can back right into the parking spots. They got plugs on the outside. You can charge the boats, and then you can drop in anywhere around the immediate area. And, I fished the Kissimmee chain a couple years ago, fished with a buddy of mine who actually fished the NPFL, Mike Johns, for a short period, and fished Toyotas and fished down in Kissimmee. And I was like, man, it's not identical, but it's pretty dang close to exactly how Florida sets up. It's got pads, got vegetation, it's got cypress trees. It does have alligators, depending on how far down you go. You can be in depending. It's tidal, but it's wind tide. It's just such a cool place to be. And just to think like where we're at in central North Carolina, you drive 2.5 hours to the east, and it's like you're in a whole different world. You know what I mean? So you got reservoirs up here, Sharon Harris, Jordan Lake, Falls Lake, Bugs Island, Gaston, and then you drive a couple hours to the east, and you're in like North Carolina's Florida. It's really cool. So you should definitely come here and hang out with us for a couple days. But so you're down in Florida. So you don't have a wife at this point yet?
Nope.
Okay.
Just a solo man rolling all over the place. But I was fortunate enough to meet my girlfriend at that time, Christy, who is now my wife, in Florida. Okay. And I can't even believe she put up with me, because it was like between fishing and traveling, like I was always gone, either on a lake or traveling for work. And it's like for traveling for work, it's a flight, because we're flying somewhere. And it was like, that was tough. And I really can respect her and appreciate her sticking with me throughout all that, because it was tough.
If Christy listens to this, I don't know you very well yet, but I'm really surprised you didn't bring a wife back from Mexico, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
yeah, we kind of started dating at that point when I was going to Mexico a little bit, and I'm like, why don't you come here with me one time? And she came with me, and she's like, I'm never coming back. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Christy doesn't like Mexico. I get it, man.
I think she's like more of a Cancun kind of visitor.
Oh,
Gotcha.
I don't know the difference between the two. I've been to Mexico, but not for any leisure purpose whatsoever. So, I don't know the difference between Tijuana and Cancun and all that stuff. But it seems like a fun place. Before we get into the like NPFL and stuff like that, so up to this point, where is the coolest place you believe you traveled? Because you said you have international stuff going on. Was Mexico at the time like the most international thing you were doing, or was there further ventures?
We had to go to Africa one time.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that was country. That was which country did you go to?
I was in South Africa. Yeah, like Johannesburg. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was that was awesome. And we kind of like made a vacation out of it, but It's a beautiful, beautiful area. I would love to go back to Africa and explore other parts of it as well. And to your point, it is massive, and it's like I kind of want to go to Egypt, and I want to go there at the right time, like with my kids and stuff, so they can remember it because they're still kind of small. But also, like, we have to make sure it's safe and everything, of course.
Yeah. Just give me a call before you do, and I'll help you link up with some guys that are from like Alexandria and Cairo and stuff like that. But yeah, Egypt's a cool place, man. Like a lot of history there, like that whole Middle East region, Middle East, North Africa region, just riddled with rich Roman and Phoenician history and stuff like that. So if you take your family over there, there's a lot of cool stuff to see. So you're living in Florida. Christy's your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Are we? Huh?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. Yep.
Are we talking NPFL before you get married or after you get married?
That was after. Yeah. At that point, I was fishing the ABAs and then fishing Toyota Series and stuff like that.
Okay. So how did what year did the NPFL start, Pete? 2021?
2020 or 2021. Yeah, one of the two.
I think it was 21. It was like kind of right, maybe the year after COVID. I did not fish it the first season. At that point, I was fishing the Toyota Series. And it was actually, I kind of had a decision to make after I fished the Toyota Series and I qualified for what was then the FLW Tour.
Oh, and, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, man, do I want to do this? Fish the FLW Tour. And it was like, from a fishing perspective, like I was so far from being prepared. Which is also like kind of wild because it was like I was like 35 or so, and it's like now kids are fishing the FLW2 and they're like, or the pro circuit, or different names, different tours. It's like
18,
they're like 18, 20, and they're like beating the brakes off us. So like, how are you guys ready? So you're 18. How are you this good? I was 18. I'm throwing I'm throwing a 10-inch lizard on like a 1-odd hook. I didn't have any idea what I was doing.
Yep. Okay, so how long did you fish Toyota Series?
I think I did it for 3 years. And the first year, I finished in 10th for points, which at that point you had to finish in the top 10 to qualify for the tour. And I said no, because I wasn't ready yet, both financially with the business and everything, but also just fishing. So I fished another 2 years. And then actually, I guess it was, now that I'm thinking about it, was 4 years, because then the fourth year I won Angler of the Year, which was the year of COVID. So it was like Southern Division. We went to Wheeler, Eufaula, and what was the other place? I forget right now. But nonetheless, I won Angler of the Year that year. So that at that point, that was like the biggest accomplishment I had ever done in tournament bass fishing, because it's like I kind of consider myself like a mid-grade bass fisherman. So like to win Angler of the Year, like for me, like it was really a big deal.
Yeah, it is the big deal. It's the most like one of the most prestigious titles you can achieve in pretty much any angling outfit, and it means a lot. I mean, Pete and I, we fished Fisher's Men the last 2 years. In our first year, we won the Angler of the Year, our very first year fishing together, and team tournament in Toyota Series still has co-anglers and stuff. But man, like it's an amazing accomplishment to know that consistency was the name of the game for the year. So congratulations on that, man. It's a huge title.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So you fish a Toyota Series, you got co-anglers. Did you have any bad co-anglers?
Man, there were a couple.
Okay.
For the most part though, is like a lot of the co-anglers, it's like I kind of still talk to them today. Like we have each other's numbers and it's like it's great. Yep. But yeah, there's it's like it's anything in life. It's like there's always going to be a couple bad, and they probably say the same thing about me backseating them or something. But it's kind of like a weird situation. It's like you're getting put in a boat with someone all day.
Yeah. You get put in a boat and someone all day and you can't, I mean, the co-anglers can't make any decisions, but the boater is completely responsible for the co-angler safety and stuff like that. So kind of a weird situation, but so when the NPFL first rolled out, did you take an interest to that? And if so, like, did the Bassmaster Opens ever cross your mind, or really what was the decision on the NPFL versus the other leagues?
Yeah. I've never fished a Bassmaster event. And not that I have anything, to say anything bad about them, because I watch a lot of their Elite Series and Opens, and I watch all the tournaments. I'm a tournament like fiend. I just like all of it. I just never fished any bass events. is I fished NPFL and then Major League Fishing, what was then FLW. So I was like debating is like, should I fish the tour or should I fish the NPFL? And I had a couple buddies that fished in the NPFL, and they're like, man, it's really good. It's a great schedule. And the thing that really caught my attention about it, and this was like really important to me, is the tournaments were not stacked up. So it was like you'd have a tournament, and then 2 months later you have another tournament. It's like that 2 months or month and a half. It's like that's critical for me for like from a work perspective, or what was then, so I could actually work. Where it's like you stack events, and it's like it's hard for me to do that.
Mm-hmm. Was
so
there any
one of the?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's one of the big reasons why I picked the NPFL. And the schedule was awesome. We were like, there was lakes that I had never heard of before. The schedule came out and it was like Wright Patman. I'm like, Wright Patman, Texas. I've never even heard of this place. And then I looked it up. I'm like, man, this place is all flooded bushes. Like, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, we're huge advocates of the NPFL. We've had Brad and Paul on and Big Al. We went to a lot of their events. We love what they're doing. They definitely found a niche in the industry. And hopefully the NPFL is going great places. And did you have some success over your few years on the NPFL?
Yeah, it was pretty good. The 1 year I finished in 6th for Angler of the Year. Had a couple of close shots at winning it. So there were some really good events, but I also learned a lot as well, where I had some bombs, where it was like a couple places that we went to, and it's like, man, I am a fish out of water in this body of water. This is tough for me to figure out. And one of the things that I feel like was really critical that I learned fishing the NPFL that was really critical for this year or this last year for the Invitationals is like learning how to salvage days is something I was very, very weak at. Where it's like you have plan ABC, it's like when those do not work, it's like, man, I wouldn't catch them. And it's like, not to say I figure that out every time, but it's like I kind of can usually salvage the day now. And that's a big deal, where it's like you come in with your 13 pounds instead of coming in with 5. It's like you salvage the day, you salvage your season. So that was a big learning point for me with the NPFL.
Yeah. I call salvaging the day, I call fatter. It's fish around the ramp. You know what I mean? Because like after about 3 days or after about 2 days of fishing, if A, B, C, and D don't work out, I got to get fatter and I got to go fish around the ramp. And by that time you got all those retreads and stuff. So I always got to pick a spot around the ramp. You know what I mean? So, so during the NPFL, did you have forward facing sonar on your boat? Because obviously everyone knows now no forward facing sonar in the NPFL as of last year. Did you have forward facing sonar on your boat?
I had it for 2 events out of the 3 years that I fished with them. And I had it on for 2 events. And it was like after the second one, I'm like, dude, take this thing away from me. I don't want anything to do with forward facing sonar. Because it really, not to say it costed me a win, but like, man, it cost me probably a top 5 finish. And after that, I'm like, man, this is just not who I am as a fisherman.
This part in the episode is where I really want people to pay attention to, because I think this is so interesting, especially with how polarizing the technology in the industry has become. But I really want you to talk about, like, you talked about having it on for 2 of those events. What went through your mind? Like, what happened that you were just like, nope, I can't do this. I shouldn't do this. Like, talk us through that process.
Yeah. So it all started with Scott Martin winning the Bassmaster Open on Okeechobee, and he was bed fishing with scope. And like at this point, I did not have scope, and like I thought it was more of like a deep kind of thing. And it was like, dude, he's bed fishing with scope. I have to get it. So I got it, and I went to Lake Amistad for the NPFL championship. And I was like scoping around on points and stuff. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I need to learn how to do this. So then the next event was on Hartwell. And like, I kind of went all in. It's like, man, I want to upgrade I want to get the best trolling motor that's out there. And I bought like this new trolling motor that just launched, and bought scope and other graph. Is like, man, I'm all dialed in. I had a battery separate for it. And I went to Hartwell, and my trolling motor didn't work first day of the tournament. And like all of practice, all I did was scope. And it was like kind of a debatable time. Like just the spawn was kind of ending, and there's like a lot of fish offshore. And I just scoped all of practice. And then the first day of the tournament, put my trolling motor in the water, doesn't work at all. And it's like, you guys know, like without a trolling motor, like you're not scoping, you're not panning, you're not going to do anything. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll just go to the bank and like just push pull around. And like after the first day, I think it was in like 16th. And then I got my trolling motor fixed. I'm like, I'm going back out scoping after I just caught him shallow with no trolling motor. I'm like, what would you think? But so I went out there scoping and didn't catch him. In like the last 2 hours, I went up to the bank and caught all my fish. So then I was like in 15th or something like that. And then the final day, I scoped all day. And then I'm like, let's go to the bank again the last 2 hours. And I went into this kind of like secret pond that I know about on Hartwell. And I went back in there the last 2 hours of practice. They were everywhere in the bed. And I'm like, oh no, this tournament was mine. And it was like, there's 5-pounders all over the place. I made like 2 flips and I caught 2 big ones. They were just like ready to eat on the bed. And I'm like, dude, this thing is gone. And the reason why I didn't check it in practice is like, because I was just scoping the entire time. And it's like, for me, I can't do both. I can't practice and scope and fish traditionally up shallow. And it's like, for me, like from a fun perspective, it's like, dude, I just want to be up in the dirt fishing shallow. So it's like, that's all I'm going to do. So I took off my scope, took off my trolling motor. I put a Fortrex on, which is like, you know, a really old school trolling motor. And it's like, man, I'll tell you what, I ran it for 2 years, 0 problems. I never had one problem ever. And it's like, there's something to say about like, I know, Trey, you were in the military, and it's like, there's something to say about dependability. And it's like, that's a big thing for me. It's like, rather than having like the best technology, I just want something that works.
That's right.
So that was a big deal for me. So at that point, it like my fishing is like, dude, scope is gone. And then I fished the Invitationals the next year, which was last year with no scope. And it was like, I love not having that in my head. It's like, are they blasting him out there scoping? Like, yeah, probably. I could care less. Like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to fish how I fish.
Yep. No, no, you're absolutely right. Like, dependability is key. It's like that old adage, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type deal. It is absolutely affected the way that I fish 1,000%. And it feels weird to take it off my boat right now. However, you, me, and Pete didn't grow up with it. So I think and even Seth Ellis, I don't know if you know it's Seth, but he fished the NPFL last couple of years, and you know, he took it off his boat last year. He actually put it back on his boat to catch striper and stuff like that. But nevertheless, like it absolutely can impact your decision-making ability. And you're right. Like, you can, some guys can do it. Some guys have the ability to say, I'm going to use it for this, and then I'm going to cut it off, and I'm going to go do this. Right. And it's funny that, you know, it's like the definition of insanity at Hartwell. Like, you do the same thing multiple times, hoping for the same result, you know, it's like, or a different result, whatever. I don't know how they define it, but it's like, you knew the answer to the test, and it was like, you refused to do it. Like, that technology affected your ability to choose, you know, and that's happening across the board. And not to say that the technology isn't great, because it can make for a really fun day of fishing, but you chose to do what you're comfortable with, put yourself back in a position where you feel you can be competitive, and you absolutely did that. So at the end of your NPFL time, what was the decision to take the invitational route, now known as the pro circuit, versus going back to the league?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird time for me to make that decision, because the NPFL the next year was going to go no scope. And I'm like, dude, this is what I've been waiting for. And then their schedule came out, and we take a family trip every summer, and it's like, it's very important to me that I don't miss that. And it conflicted with that trip. So I'm like, dude, I'm out. I can't fish the NPFL. And then when I looked at the pro circuit, I wasn't planning on fishing the whole schedule. I'm like, I'm just going to hop in Kissimmee, because I really enjoy fishing Kissimmee. And I went down there, and I think I finished 11th or 12th or something. And I'm like, well, I guess I might as well kind of fish the next one. And it's like the whole season that kind of happened. And then I got to the end of the year, and I'm like, holy crap, I qualified for the Bass Pro Tour. What just happened?
So, I mean, dude, so you got a Fortrex on your boat. You don't have scope. You're absolutely right. The Fortrex is a bulletproof trolling motor, by the way, like tough as nails, man. And I think I'm going to buy one. I'll just look on Marketplace or something and have one as a backup trolling motor, because they are absolutely great. but you fished against some of the best anglers in the world in the invitationals for sure. And what was your, like, it didn't play a role in your mind, you said, about people going out there scoping and stuff like that. But what, like, if you were to say, like, based on that schedule, like, how did you posted a lot of, I'm trying to get to this. You posted a ton of videos like top water and flipping. Is that pretty much all you did all year long on the invitationals?
Man, to answer your question, yes, but it's like, dude, that's the only way I've really fished like the last like 4 or 5 years. The whole NPFL, all I did was just flip and throw top water. Sometimes maybe it's too cold to throw top water, so that's like usually when I'm flipping and stuff. And then like chatterbait and spinnerbait and stuff too. But it's like, man, I am super simple bass fisherman as far as like the lures that I utilize. And there was actually like kind of a catalyst for that. I qualified for a Toyota championship on Table Rock years ago. I mean, this is probably 8 years ago, 9 years ago or something. And I went out there for pre-practice with a buddy of mine, and he's a really, really good fisherman. And he's like, man, we're fishing out deep the entire time. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like, it was before you could take information at this point. So I went out with him and like, dude, I was on him. He put me on him. We were giants offshore. And then I went there for official practice, and like they were still there. And I showed up to those spots like the first day, and it was like Mark Rose, like all the deep fishermen that were awesome at offshore fishing. They were all on my spots. I'm like, dude, I am so bad at fishing deep. Like, what am I doing out here fishing against Mark Rose? And it was like in his prime when he was just like winning everything. And then that tournament ended up being won way up a river on a buzzbait. And it was like 8 out of the guys in the top 10 were fishing shallow way up creeks. I'm like, dude, deep fishing, it's gone. I'm never fishing deep again. So everything deep, I just took out of my boat. And like, ever since I did that, like I just started catching more fish. So I'm like, well, why would I do anything else?
No, dude, you're absolutely right. It's funny. Like Pete and I'll text throughout the day or something. Cause I don't have a job anymore really. And, he'll be like, are you catching them? And I'll be like, yeah. He's like, how you catching them? I'm like 30 foot of water. And he'll be like, put that trolling motor in the dirt, dude. And you're so right, dude. Like, and we talked about this on the phone last week. And I asked you this question, and I think this is important for the audience too. So many people are utilizing, forward facing sonar and stuff. Do you feel it's taken pressure away from the traditional way of like bank fishing, structure fishing, and stuff like that?
I do feel like the pressure is significantly less on the bank now than it was historically. But what's weird about it is I feel like there's less fish. And it's like, I don't know why that is. I almost feel like this is just like a fisherman theory. I don't have any data to support it, but it's like, I feel like those fish are getting pressured so much offshore is like, it would seem logical that they would want to go to the bank, but I think they stay out there because they feel more comfortable. So it's like, I feel like there's less pressure on the bank than ever before, but there's also less fish on the bank than ever before. It's just like kind of my theory.
No, I mean, to me, it makes sense. I mean, Pete and I both have the technology on our boats, and I've never seen more fish than I have on forward facing sonar. I mean, you don't see that many fish on the bank, but I guess it really is relative to where you're fishing at too. I mean, like you talk about Florida, like Florida is a bunch of shallow habitat and stuff like that. And deep there, maybe 6 or 8 feet. In the Carolinas, I can say like you can catch fish relatively shallow in majority of our lakes, at least in central North Carolina. It probably changes out west, and definitely in the east you can catch them shallow and stuff. But I think it's related to the area you're fishing. But I would tend to agree with you. Even Sharon Harris right next door to me, the majority of the fish are swimming out in the middle of the lake, right? Maybe that one time a year when they're pre-spawn spawn, there'll be, an influx of them on the bank, but just traditionally going down the bank like you used to be able to do. And that lake is turned into a really heavy live scope or forward facing sonar lake. So there's more pressure than there's ever been on that lake as far as that's concerned. So I would agree with that. I think also like fish behavior is just like human behavior. Like, a lot of fish are changing. They're just evolving with the amount of things that are going on too. And not only that, but, I think a lot of the surrounding area developments and changes in the watershed and stuff like that have a lot to do with, hey man, maybe they're not getting as much nutrients on the bank as they used to get. So it's pushing them off the bank and pushing them out in the middle of the lake and stuff like that. So I think the answer is D, all the above. But was there ever a point in your invitational, were you trying to qualify for the Bass Pro Tour?
No, not at all. No, I fish those. It's like I have one goal in mind, that is to win one of these invitationals. And it's like as we got closer and closer to the end of the season, it's like, dude, I was in second in Angler of the Year going into the final tournament. And it was like, how did this even happen?
So wait a minute, was it Bank Shaw that won AOI?
Mm-hmm.
So Bank Shaw, one of the best scopers that's out there, right? Hands down. And then you got you, who's chucking a buzz bait, spinner bait, and a jig, is number 2. And everyone's like, you can't catch them without forward-facing sonar.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, dude, Banks beat the brakes off of me this year because this was my rookie year as well, which is weird because I'm 40 years old. So I was a rookie. But behind me, there was a couple of other really good rookies as well, but like it was a big separation in points. And it was like, dude, I would have walked away with Rookie of the Year if it wasn't for Banks. And he beat, man, he whooped all of us.
Oh man.
He did.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. Like, yeah, he beat the brakes off of pretty much everybody.
What in the season, what was your toughest tournament and why?
St. Clair, the St. Clair River.
St. Clair?
Or not the St. Clair, what's it, St. Lawrence.
Lake St. Clair?
St. Lawrence River.
Oh, St. Lawrence River. Okay.
Yeah, St. Lawrence River. Yeah, that was the final event. And I was going into it in second. And it was like, well, I actually might have a shot at fishing the Bass Pro Tour. But it was like I really wanted to just like salvage the tournament and do well. And man, I'll tell you what, I'm not really like too much of a smallmouth fisherman. I've never really thrown a spy bait, but I got on a spy bait bite, and man, I just had giants, and I couldn't land them. I was so bad at fishing with smallmouth. It was like every fish I'd hook, they would just come up and just jump off. And like I tried other baits like a Senko and hair jigging them and jerk bait and chatterbait and stuff, and it was like they wanted a spy bait. I just couldn't land them. So the first day I had like 20 pounds. I had a 5.5 pound smallmouth. But it was like 20 pounds on the St. Lawrence River as I was in like 50th or something.
Yeah.
So that was by far my worst tournament of the year.
Yeah.
So you
finished there. I just
64. And was the weather conducive? Obviously, it was probably conducive for guys with forward-facing sonar.
Yeah, it was good. They definitely put a whooping on them with forward-facing sonar, scoping them for sure. But it's like there was a lot of fish up shallow, smallmouth, and you just look at them. You'd see them swimming around and just cast to them and stuff. But it's like I just couldn't get them to bite anything else but a spy bait. Okay.
Yeah. So you qualify for the 2026 Bass Pro Tour. Are you changing anything that you're going to do fishing a completely different format?
That's a good question. I've thought a lot about that, and I think I have to a little bit. Because it's like traditionally, like I've always fished for 5 fish like most people, and it's like a cliche thing to say, but it's like I usually fish for like bigger fish. Like I'm throwing big baits, bigger, baits that attract larger than average bass. And it's like I think I have to kind of tone that down a little bit, where it's like I fish a big jig a lot, flipping a big jig and stuff, and it's like maybe instead of doing that, I just flip a small Texas rig. So there's the fishing aspect that I have to change, but there's also just like all the other stuff as far as like decision making, not breaking rules as far as like fish landing violations and all that stuff. So I've been trying to like practice that to get better at it. But I think I'm going to get a couple knocks on the head fishing the Bass Pro Tour by these guys, because they're very good at bass fishing. Obviously, that's why they're here. Like the best of the best, which is fantastic and super exciting. But then also it's like the power that they have with scope, the super scopers, is like, man, with every fish you can catch, that is a dangerous weapon that they have.
Super scopers, dude. That's hilarious. That's a new t-shirt coming out by Dustin Smith.
that's I wouldn't say that's like a rip at all. Like I respect the guys that do it. Like, man, they are good. Because I tried doing it. I'm like, dude, I'm terrible. I see a fish and I cast at it, and like my bait gets down to it. I'm like, I'm 20 feet behind this fish. I don't have any idea what I'm doing.
So you're talking about the changes for the 2026 BPT. You're talking about maybe going more finesse or maybe downsizing a little bit. Are you going to change your electronics or the way that you break down bodies of water, or what's that going to look like?
Yeah, so a little bit. I run an iPad on my boat that I have Google Earth on so I can see historical imagery. So like before a tournament, I do a ton of research on Google Earth. So it's like we start practice on the Bass Pro Tour in like a week. It's like I have kind of like my game plan put together, like based on everything that I've seen on Google Earth. So that is like, to me, that's the most valuable tool that I have for reconnaissance, and then also in tournament practice as well. I did change trolling motors. I got rid of my Fortrex, and I have a Quest now. And like, fingers crossed, it's been awesome to me so far. And it's like, dude, that thing is so strong and quiet. It seems like it's an awesome trolling motor so far. But I just run 2 graphs in my boat. I have a Solix at the wheel, and then a Solix at the trolling motor, and then I just have an iPad that I have. So I keep it pretty basic. Like I was saying before, is like I really value dependability, and I feel like the more simple my system is, the less things that can go wrong.
Did you keep the Fortrex though, at least?
I have 2 of them. Like to your point, like I always, I keep a spare trolling motor all the time. So like, I'm like, maybe I'll just sell these things. So I put them on Facebook Marketplace. I've received 0 inquiries so far. Like no one's buying Fortrexes anymore.
All right, well, go ahead. Send me the link.
Right.
And that was like, you couldn't not sell them a few years back because the mount's the same for the Ultrex and the Fortrex. So everybody was buying Fortrex as a backup. If something happened to their Ultrex, they could slap it in there. And most boats were coming with a Fortrex. So guys were buying it, upgrading to an Ultrex, keeping the Fortrex, and then flipping it for like $500. Yeah. And now you can't get rid of them because everybody's convinced you have to have spot lock and all this other crap.
Yeah. Right.
Which is nice to have. Don't get me wrong, but you definitely don't have to have it.
I mean, honestly, going down to the Kissimmee chain for our first event here in a couple weeks, like I really wish I had a Fortrex on the boat just to power through that, that vegetation and stuff. I put a 52-inch shaft on mine because I got an aluminum boat, so the bow sits higher, and I'm not looking forward to having to raise that trolling motor up. And those Fortrex shafts are just, I feel like they're bulkier and they're just really powerful and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, you kick off the season here in 2 weeks, right?
Actually, it's less than that. Yeah, I think we're like 5 days away from the first day of practice. Yeah.
So one of the things we didn't talk about too is throughout this entire journey so far, we talked about like going back to the roots of fishing and then accidentally qualifying for the BPT, almost winning, or Rookie of the Year, Angler of the Year, however that worked out. You have wife and children, right?
I do.
So,
yes, sir.
And you got your business still. So what was that? How has your wife been, the family? How important has the family support been along the journey?
Yeah. So my wife is like my biggest supporter in everything that I do, which is, I'll tell you what, is like, this is a little bit side topic, but like for the young guys that are listening, picking a good wife is the biggest decision that you will make in your entire life. It's the most critical decision. And it's like, if you make a bad choice, like your life is going to be tougher. So I was lucky that I was able to meet Christy, and she's just like, she's the best wife that I could imagine. So she's very supportive of me, not only for work, and then also for fishing, because like it requires sacrifice, and usually that sacrifice means more responsibility for her. So I really appreciate that. She's awesome when it comes to that. So our kids are little. Actually, my son the other day, he had dressed as like a famous person, and he dressed up as me because like in theory I'm a famous fisherman. So that was kind of cool. And like it is tough. Like I don't like being gone from Christy and my kids. They're 4 and 7. So, but I also think it is positive to show them like you have something that you're chasing, and it requires hard work and dedication, discipline. I think that's good for them to see that, especially when they start getting a little bit older and they further understand that.
Sure. No, 100%, man. Like greatness was never achieved without a lot of sacrifice, or at least some sacrifice. And I think it's a good statement that we send to the youth population in general, is like, there are some that can go free 99 on this stuff, but at the end of the day, most of it's, the 80 percenters are, they're right there, and that hard work, means a positive reward for the most part. So I think it's a good thing to do. The family side, now you got the business side. Does the BP, so as you have gotten more ingrained in this, have you had to take a step back from the business and allow it to run itself?
Yeah, I have, which is tough. But we have awesome guys that I trust, that can handle the business when I'm gone, or my business partner is gone. He's going on vacation next week. And it's like, that's healthy for us to be able to step away. Our general manager does a fantastic job helping run the business while John and I are out doing whatever we're doing. And then our engineers are all very smart, respectable people that we can put into these projects that we work on, and we trust them to deliver on it. So I feel very fortunate that we have a team of just like wholesome, good people.
That's good, man. Yeah. For the young guys out there, or for the guys and gals listening, like, I think Dustin's got, the right mindset, like building that business, letting it mature. And then really, like, if your dream is to chase this fishing addiction, like a lot of ours is, you don't have to be 18, 20 years old to do it. You can let yourself mature as an individual as well. Because I feel like we're in our prime right now, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I felt better at 25, but I still feel great at 41 now, actually, as of a couple of days ago. So, for me, it felt like the right time to just jump in and put it all out there and see how it shakes out. I mean, at the end of the day, like if I come in dead last, I don't lose any money, I'll lose some feelings and stuff like that, but still, it's not gonna end my life. So you really did it the smart way. The last thing that I really wanted to ask you, for the audience, as we get closer to this, to wrapping it up here, is, what is your best advice? And maybe we've already said it, but if you were to look at these guys that are trying to do what you're doing, because really you can say you're a professional angler, but at the end of the day, like, angling doesn't really feed your family. Your business feeds your family. That's what your profession is. This is like a second profession, right? But for those that want to just do this and nothing else, like, what is your best piece of advice for them as they continue to try to chase this dream that hopefully doesn't turn into a nightmare?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like there's a lot of things I could say here, but one that really jumps out at me is having the ability to sell. And I think this is a big thing that people are overlooking right now. And it's like, you don't need to be a salesman for sales to be important. And what I mean by that, it's like, you want to land a new sponsor, or you're trying to get a new promotion at work, or there's a cute girl at the coffee shop that you want to get her number. Is like, if you have the ability to sell, you will be more successful in life in acquiring the things that you want. And it's like, that requires critical thinking, communication, like all the things. Those are very, very important. It's like, I think that's a big skill that like is maybe under talked about, underutilized with like the younger generation. Is like, you have to be able to sell if you want the things that you want in life, and to get those. So to me, that's a really big deal.
No, it is, man. We've had a number of experienced business owners and anglers, and the combination of the above on here, and the one of the things that a lot of people talk about is the handshake has turned into the modern day handshake has turned into the modern day want a handout type thing. And creating value for yourself and for those around you, and building trust and having integrity and all those things is really important values, really important characteristics to have. As time goes on, I've seen a lot of people become really disassociated with one another, and they're not really the social skills and the things like that are important to have conversations with people and build trust and mutual value and stuff. The complex and critical thinking that you're talking about has I wouldn't say it's gone away, but it's becoming less and less talked about. And I think it's one of the most important things in the human world. It's going to exist forever. So we shouldn't turn the other cheek towards it. So I think that's a great piece of advice. Before we wrap it up, Pete, I know you're not feeling well, but I stole 99% of the show. What do you got for Dustin?
No, I don't have anything else, man. I think you asked all the questions that I had in mind. I appreciate you doing what you do and talking the whole time because my voice sounds like crap. I just appreciate you taking some time to come on here, Dustin, and talk to everybody. And looking forward to following along this year.
Yeah, 2026 is going to be a great year for you, man. And you're gonna, you got a lot of good. Oh, that's the one thing I want to ask you. Are you going to travel with anybody this year, or are you going solo?
Yeah, that's a good question. I am probably going to go solo. I used to travel with like a group of guys and stuff, and it was like it's fun. It's like a lot of joking back and forth and stuff, and it's like that kind of like interferes a little bit with my fishing. Like I don't want to get back to like the house that we're staying at. It's like 4 guys, and they're like, "Man, I was smashing today. I had so many bites and all this stuff." And it's like, dude, I never had a bite. That messes with me mentally. So I usually just kind of roll solo. And I don't really talk to people and stuff about like during practice and stuff, as I just kind of keep to myself a little bit. And that for me, that's what it allows success for me. But I do miss like all the banter and stuff back and forth for sure.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, a lot of 99% of these guys are rolling in like a team format. Really helps them expedite breaking bodies of water down. But I'm much like you, and dock talk doesn't stop at the dock. It takes its way back to the what I call the team house and stuff like that. And it really can mess with you if you're actually listening to it. Sometimes it can hurt you, but sometimes it can it might be able to help you. But that's why I don't care about the no information rule. For Bassmaster, it's like 30 days before fish. I don't care. I don't care about that. Pre-practice, hey man, like I'll try to get there if I can get there, but really at the end of the day, like, you got to fish each day, and you got to figure it out, and you got to develop multiple contingency plans. And I think where I go wrong a lot of times is I overcomplicate things when they don't really need to be complicated. There's only so many phases a fish is going to be in, and you just got to figure out which phase they're in and what they're holding on. So, or where they're going or where they're coming from. But I'm really excited to watch you in 2026. If you see our good buddy Zach Burge, tell him we said hi. He's one of our good buddies, and one of my fan favorites all the time. Zach's good people, and he can do everything, which I don't know how you do that well, but he can do it all well. Before we end here, when you qualified, did the sponsors come running to you?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. we make that pretty clear to everybody.
Yeah. I had a couple companies reach out and stuff, which was like, that was cool. But it's like, it's just not like a great fit for me where I'm at with my life right now. It's like, I'd much rather spend like my spare time, like growing my business, rather than maybe growing someone else's business. So that's kind of the area that I'm concentrating on right now. But I do, there's a boat dealer that I work with, State Line Marine, which is owned by, it's more of a friend, Josh Bragg and his team of people that work there. And it's like, they're super helpful because like, man, I'm always breaking something. And I bring my boat there, my motor, trolling motor, whatever it is. They'll meet me there. It's 5 a.m. They're just getting it fixed and stuff. And it's like, they're a really, really good group of people. I think maybe a guy could go buy a different boat from a different dealer and like maybe it would be a little bit less expensive, but it's like you might not have the same service. And it's like they're a family owned dealership, man. They're good. That's awesome. Where's that at? It's in Lynette, Georgia, right on the Alabama Georgia line. Yeah. It's kind of a drive for me. And it's like, man, I make that drive just because they're that's the kind of people that they are there. Yep. Well, trust and value play a huge role. And then just shout your business out. That's obviously your primary title sponsor, I'm assuming. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Boltsmith Packaging Consultants. And we don't sell any kind of packaging. Is companies will reach out to us and we'll redesign their packaging. It could be a crate for a motorcycle. It could be military packaging that we're designing. It could be designing packaging for cheese. We get into all kinds of projects. For cheese out of Wisconsin. Yeah, we have a lot of cheese projects, as you'd imagine. Hey, after this episode drops, you probably get it already. You'll probably get like 10 more anglers calling you, be like, "Hey, Dustin, so you want to be a sponsor for me this year?" Right. Hey, do you invest in other anglers or no? We have talked about it as far as like sponsoring anglers and stuff, and it's like, man, I just haven't seen like a great opportunity for return on investment. And it's like it's if we angler could come in, it's like, hey, we're going to give you $50,000 and you're going to bring in $200,000 worth of sales, like, dude, I'm in, let's do it. But it's like,
Yep.
I just haven't seen that opportunity arise yet.
Yep. That's a note for all the anglers out there, the ones that we know and the ones that we don't know. Like, take the advice that Dustin's talking about. Like, it's a hard world to get sponsorship in, especially non-endemics. Like, that's where the real money's at, is in non-endemics. But like, ask yourself the honest question: can I really provide value to this company before even making the approach, right? Because if you don't have the communication skills, if you haven't even done your due diligence and know anything about the company, that'd be like me calling Dustin right now and be like, hey man, can you provide me a sponsorship for the year? But like, I don't know the first thing about your company. I have no idea what your guys' profit looks like, what revenue, where you're at located geographically, like all these types of things. And a lot of these guys go in and they'll do a cold call or a cold email or a cold introduction, and they not know anything about the company. So do your research, provide value. If you think you can sell. If not, man, take out student loans or something. I don't know.
Right.
Figure it out. But yeah, so where can everybody find you at, Dustin?
Yeah, so I just kind of got into Instagram and stuff. So I started this summer, Dustin Smith Fishing, and I put all kinds of videos on there and stuff. And it's like, man, if you like top water and flipping and all kinds of stuff like that, like, tune in, because I post all kinds of videos like that. And a note is sometimes there's profanity in my page.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like warning label or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know how that works, but so you're on Instagram, right. You're on Facebook. So yeah, man, everyone's looking forward to watching you in 2026, man. And we definitely want to bring you back on the show after the 2026 or maybe mid-season or something like that, so you can talk about it and share some of your journey. And you know, I think you've provided a lot of great, important lessons and piece of advice for the guys and gals trying to chase this dream. And we appreciate you joining us here tonight. Before we end this, Dustin, hang on. After we end it, you're going to hear the outro and stuff like that. We appreciate you. Pete, you got anything before I close this out?
No, I'm good, brother.
Dustin Smith, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Alabama. All over the map, actually, but Alabama right now. We can't wait to watch you in 2026 and help us continue growing a culture of anglers helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.